Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big, butch, manly pop culture podcast that's never going to have a girlfriend after this. I'm Andrew Wheeler.
And I'm Shane Hollon.
We're talking about the Traitors US Season 4 finale. Spoilers from this point onwards, chums. We're going to talk about the winners and the very many losers and the people who sort of fall in between. First of all, you've watched the reunion, Shane?
I did. God,
There's a
did
lot
I
to
ever.
talk about there.
Yes, there is.
But maybe we just start by talking about our winner, because it wasn't a surprise result, but
Nope.
I found it very satisfying.
How could it be anyone but, spoiler alert, Rob? He played this game so well from episode 1, and I love that everyone recognized that in the reunion and didn't try to take that away from him. And yeah, he was the most entertaining character in that house. And obviously, so much of that is to do with editing, and they really laid the groundwork from the jump. But he really was someone worth watching, and I think people did sleep on him because he does have this attitude of being this look of being like dumb and hot, but he has something going on up here.
The worst kind of dumb and hot and clever, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great to watch. That's for sure. I would have liked to have slept on him, but beggars can't be choosers. Yeah, he's a tremendous winner. He's in the, for the English language, I guess he's in the top 3 traitors of all time. Well, it depends how you feel about Rachel and Stephen. I would rate them outside of that top 3. Siri and Harry, I think, would be the top 3 with Rob. What would you say?
Yeah, I think you might be right with Siri, Harry, and Rob. And I think Rachel and Stephen just fall out of it because they, as much as we loved it and as much as I really appreciated them playing together all the way to the end, real treacherous behavior would be to cut one of them in that final episode, and they didn't. All power
Speaking
to
of
them.
which,
oh man,
yeah, the power move is to cut your fellow traitor right at the end and not have them see it coming until it's way too late. Which, I mean, there was a lot of people realizing things way too late in this season, but especially in that last episode. And poor, sweet Eric Nam, it made so much sense why Maura was just locked in with Rob, the fact that they had their secret pinky promise, because Maura kept voting with Rob at times when I thought, well, maybe she won't. Maybe she'll get rid of Johnny, but then get rid of Eric, and then it'll be Tara in final 3. How would that happen? How would that work out? It would be very uncertain. But no, she went with Rob the whole way because he promised to get out Eric. That is how I interpret it, which means it was a brilliant move that got Rob through the hazard of the 2 Olympic ski bunnies.
There is some irony.
Skate bunnies.
The skating twins.
Yeah.
There was some irony in that second to last or the last round table where Eric said, as a traitor, thinking that he is going to win this game with Rob, he says, well, you've got Johnny and Tara, and they are obviously a duo. And then you've got the Love Island duo as Rob and Maura. And so I am the outsider. I have no one to work with. And trying to point it at Johnny and Tara as the logical choice. And he was successful in that, but he didn't think that was going to come back on him in the end.
Yeah, poor Eric.
Eric.
I was glad to see that everyone was friendly again. It's always so tense when you get to the end and people are taking the game very seriously. And you think, how seriously are they going to take this? Molly is never going to forgive Harry. That is never going backwards. But this bunch actually seemed, I mean, with 2 very notable exceptions, this bunch seemed to have got over it, which I'm glad to see, because it is a game. And literally a game that requires you to behave the way the winners behave. I know Rachel and Stephen slightly put a crimp in that, but they still had to be traitors. They still had to do some lying and backstabbing to get to the end.
God, I don't know if I like the reunion as an idea. I definitely don't like the host.
No, God, he's awesome.
But there is something about having them come together and being like, we're good now. that is very cathartic, that
Yeah.
really helps me, like, I don't know, compartmentalize this season, knowing that, like, all of that happened and it was real, and also we survived.
I know the UK does do a reunion show. I can't, like, it's not available on Crave. I never
Fair,
know
yeah.
where to find it. I think iPlayer, which I can't get. But, like, it's Ed Gamble hosting that reunion.
Oh god,
And
imagine
so
how
the
much
mood
better that
is,
would be.
yeah, like, that is someone, like, funny and charming who really connects personally with the contestants and has been interviewing the contestants. Well, I guess Andy Cohen does this too, interviewing the contestants as they leave the castle.
And who I don't
I
think
just
is
think Ed
MAGA.
Gamble's very yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ed Gamble has never voted for Donald Trump, and I can't say that for Andy Cohen. Boy, howdy. Yeah. So I'm glad they're all friends again. When it came to who was put in the coffin in that final episode, do you think Mark was the smart choice? Because I've seen people saying that's the time to break up Johnny and Tara.
If anything, I think it should have been Maura. But, well, I mean,
And then
I
Mark
guess
becomes Maura for the
in the end, it didn't matter because we wanted Rob to win, and he won anyway.
yes.
Is I think the answer. And who are they saying would have been the smart choice for who?
Well, yes, that's a great question. I think they're saying that Rob would have. Yeah, the people I've seen talking about it are like, well, Rob would have won if he'd done this. Well, Rob did win. So what? What's the point? But I think if he had put Tara or Johnny in the coffin, then Mara and Mark would have been there to turn on him. Whereas he knew that those
Yeah,
two were already against him, and that's easier to play. So I think that's why this is the winning strategy.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
if you get rid of Tara or Johnny when they've been saying your name for like loudly for a week, then you look suspicious. And Rob was always very good at not picking the people that make him look bad.
Yeah, yeah. God, I really don't think there was a play in those last few episodes where a faithful could have won because there wasn't any suspicion on Rob, or not enough until the very end.
Yeah,
They were turning against Eric, but I feel like they were equally turning against Johnny and Tara. So it's
yeah,
really up in the air how it would have gone if one of them hadn't been there. Yeah, I just think he played too perfect a game for him to not win at the end,
mhm, yeah,
especially in those last four episodes. Like, you could see the writing on the wall. And I gotta say, it almost made the end a little anticlimactic. Like, these
it
last
did. Yes,
four episodes, I found myself tuning out in a way that I didn't in the first two-thirds of the season.
yeah. We didn't cover those episodes because they didn't feel like an urgency to say anything
Mhm.
about them. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they were just like, it was the same challenges that we had seen in the UK,
Yeah,
and the dynamic didn't change. Like, it was basically once they all turned on Johnny and Tara, but no one was willing to vote either of them out. That was kind of the nail in the coffin for the season. Like, because it just kept
and
going the same way after that. I felt really bad for Natalie, who, like, had this brilliant plan cooked up with Tara and Johnny, and they did turn on her, and that felt
yeah,
weird. And the internet thinks it felt weird, and
yeah,
Natalie says it felt weird. So I don't know how I feel about that at all, but I don't feel good.
yeah. If Tara and Johnny had actually won in the end, it would have felt like a villain faithful ending. I think not that they're lovely people. I love watching them, but I
Mhm.
think they would have been edited as like these scheming little mischief twins, like thing one and thing two, and it would have felt less satisfying if they had won. Like UK season three, was it? Where the faithful won, two faithful won, or season two, I think.
I think it was season two. Yeah.
And it was just so unsatisfying to have these faithfuls that have done nothing to earn their spot at the end of the game get there. And it would have felt a bit like that.
Yeah.
I loved Rob's final remarks where he's like, I'm going to find a very heteronormative, but get a wife and some kids and a farm. And I just want a quiet life. Like he does not intend to do a bunch more reality TV for the rest of
No.
his life.
Although
And
he
I saw
will
an
do a
interview as
lot more
well.
Sonic commercials.
Yeah, he's getting his wedge for sure. He's done Sonic commercials, some energy drink commercial I've seen he's doing.
Oh God.
Make bank and then get out. But also I saw in an interview, like a post Traitors interview, where the photo shoot was not nearly homoerotic enough, where he said maybe it was the GQ one where he was saying all I want to do is, or the funnest thing for me to do is to go outside and catch snakes. And I can do that and make money by posting it on social media. And it's like, okay, great. That is a perfect life for you, even though I wish you would be more careful.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh, bless him. I read that as well. And yeah, it's kind of sweet that like he just wants
Yeah.
adventure and he got
Yeah.
that and now he's settling down. I mean, the saddest reveal at the reunion was that he found a girlfriend and that he is officially off the market, like without a
Hearts
chance for the
broken.
world to like pounce on that.
Yeah. Although he said 2 months.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And he is a Love Island boy, so 2 months feels like a lifetime.
right. Right. But if another bombshell enters the swamp, all bets are off.
Colton?
Boy, would Colton like that. And no shade. Like Rob is a stunning man. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of crept up on the culture just how hot he is because no one can deny it. And it's sort of like in this era of heated rivalry, he's slipped in there as like the addenda to the hotness of the heated rivalry stars. Oh, and
Yeah.
also there's this guy, and also Peter Claffey maybe. We'll talk about him in a future episode. But yeah, that dungarees with the white T-shirt underneath it that he wore for the final episode, I was agape, jaw on the floor. It was so hot.
Oh my God. I can't believe he got away with that. That like
Yeah,
his idea of an end game look was that, and it was perfect. And I didn't want
it was so good.
the only thing that would have made it better if it was just the same look as before and he didn't have the white tank underneath.
Just a nipple out there, proud for the world to see.
Oh yeah. Like
Yeah, I
Survivor
mean
players do
Mara's.
that and we hate them, and he does this and we love him. Go figure.
Yeah, pretty privilege is real, and his name is Rob Roush.
Yeah.
But also Mara, she has pretty privilege, but she still dresses up, and that pleather bodice and beanie number, stunning, gorgeous, love
Oh
that.
my God. I did send a picture to a friend of her in that giant hat and like it shadows over her face. So truly, you just see this of Maura, and it's like, oh my God, how can one woman be so perfect? I saw that she went
Yeah,
to Paris Fashion Week with Lisa Rinna, and she looked fucking stunning. They both did. I'm beginning to like
beginning to like.
Lisa Rinna.
Sorry. I mean, preach. Let's talk about the reunion because it was so redemptive for Lisa Rinna for me. I
Yeah.
came out of that a Lisa Rinna fan. I mean, especially the bit where she talked about I've been a villain for 8 years, and then there was some fiddling about the numbers, which I don't understand. I don't watch Real Housewives, but I know she became a villain in her final
Yeah.
years. But being a villain on Real Housewives is the same as being a villain on Game of Thrones. It's not real.
It's not real.
The actor that played Joffrey is not Joffrey. Lisa Rinna is not the real Lisa Rinna. Though it is the real Lisa Rinna
She
that's
rips off a
playing.
mask and it's just Lisa Rinna under.
I mean, she could rip her face off if she tried. I feel like it's lightly tethered,
Hard.
if anything.
Yeah.
Um, but
We
yeah,
love you. We love you.
The difference between how Lisa navigated the reunion and how Candiace
Candiace.
continued
Boy.
to bomb at the reunion. It was embarrassing at this
It made
point for her
me.
to keep insisting.
Well, I've heard so much about how Candiace was a villain on her seasons of Housewives, which I've never seen.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, I kind of enjoyed her on the show, like straight talking. But then, as we saw towards the end of her run, she got really toxic. And it turns out that toxicity carried over into the reunion, which was a chance for her to, like Lisa Rinna did, redeem her time on that show and the
Yeah.
narrative and the story that people tell about her. And instead, she just digging that hole, baby.
Yeah. Lisa Rinna has been so gracious. She comes out of it smelling of roses. And Candice and her husband, for some reason on social media, going around talking crap about contestants. And she
God.
comes on this show and she still doesn't understand how the game works. She still insists that it's bad to lie or to be a snake. And it's like, no, that's the show. And also, you were a snake. And she says, no, I wasn't a snake. That was how I was playing the game. And it's like, do you not see the disconnect here?
Yeah.
It's so baffling.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah, just really out of touch with what she was doing. I think in the future, if we're going, well, okay, first of all, I hear we're not doing another celebrity season of the US. that we
Yes.
are bringing in real people. And if for any reason they decide to do another celebrity US Traitors, they need to be forced to watch at least some of it. They, no longer can we have people who've never heard of this show playing this game. And I think Candiace is one of those people.
Yeah. Although sometimes people who've watched every episode of the show are also the worst. I don't know if you have any thoughts about Michael Rapaport at the reunion. I fast forwarded through his part of the show because I
I
could not stand
watched.
to hear his braying donkey voice.
Okay, if we're talking about Candice not redeeming her toxicity,
Yeah.
Rapaport doubled down. And
There was never a question.
no, of course not. But the way that he was trying to literally silence women and only women voices by going like click, click, click the entire time was obnoxious. It was misogynistic. It felt homophobic, whether like he actually even no, he did talk to Colton. God, it was just hard to watch. And I like cringe TV sometimes, like it's fun being on the outside looking in, but with him, it's been hard to watch and not in a fun way because as queer people, this is the kind of way that we've been talked to our entire lives, as if
Yeah.
we're meaningless. And I'm
Bullying.
sure women feel the same way. I can't imagine anyone has fun watching Michael Rapaport on this show.
No, I was disappointed that they brought him back for the reunion, but he's friends with Andy Cohen. They go to the ballot box together. So, what can you do? On the subject of Colton, awkward and uncomfortable, that interaction. But I think there are people who will never forgive Colton for what he's done. And there are people who will forgive Colton too quickly because he's pretty. Where I fall on it is he very clearly had a mental health crisis. Like, I don't think that's deniable or negotiable. And we are very hard on people who have had a mental health crisis. If it manifests through stalking or violence, and I get that, you can't excuse those things based on mental health, but there still has to be a way back, I think.
Yes.
If we never forgive people who have a crisis, if we never give them an avenue towards redemption, then we're being monstrous towards them. We can't claim that we're being righteous in those circumstances. We're saying your mental health makes you unfit for society. And there's a name for people who do that. So I think Colton deserves a way back. Does he deserve to be on reality TV? No, of course not. No one deserves to be on TV. That's just a fact.
Look, as someone who has had a mental health crisis that has affected other people in my life, like I'm so glad that that is not the thing that defines me. And I'm lucky enough to have not been a public figure when I went through that,
Yeah.
right? And I can't imagine how much worse it would have been if I was under scrutiny by people, not even that I didn't know, but that I couldn't see, like talking about me
Yeah.
online. That would have just exacerbated that problem. So on the Colton note, I thought he did really well in this reunion, and as much as, his behavior when he was going through that was awful to me, it felt like he's working on that and he's working through that and he is aware of what he did and he doesn't need to be rated like by the world, because if you're doing the work to become a better person, then you're already starting to win the battle.
Yeah. And he will continue to be on reality TV because that is his job now.
Yeah.
That is the life that Rob Roush does not want to pursue. Just a few more Sonic commercials. Maybe one where he's kissing Robbie GK. Just a suggestion.
Just a thought.
One burger, two men.
Something tells me Rob would be into that.
Rob on Rob. Any final thoughts?
There were just some incredible looks at the finale.
Yes.
Jam Jam's tartan was wonderful. Tartan cape, I should say. And Monet's tartan businesswoman special suit was also fantastic. Maura's hat was, I just want to give it up one more time for Maura. She called herself a fool. There was just, God, I have so much to say about her. I felt so bad for her because I see myself in her so much, right? Like, she doesn't have that confidence in herself that we project onto her because, again, she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And she's had a lot of work done. If you see her from her first time on Love Island to now, it's almost two different people, but she was always
That's
beautiful.
why she and Lisa Rinna are besties now.
Yep, get it? she was always beautiful, but now like she is a model. Now she is like high fashion, high couture,
Yeah.
but she's still an insecure person. And that is so heartwarming and also sad. So watching her like really beat herself up until the reunion was a little hard to watch.
Yeah. I mean, not to applaud doing the bare minimum, but I was glad that Rob repeatedly insisted, you're not a fool, you're not stupid, you're not an
Yeah.
idiot, at a time when he was the only person in the room that could say that to her. And yeah, she was so happy to receive the Best Dressed Award, a made-up award that is decided by a PA. And she was so pleased about it. And she earned it 100%. My
Yeah.
only worry about her big hats is every time she looks up, I feel like the Titanic is going to appear. So, dangerous.
And I'm also very happy that she's getting a bag out of all of this. I think that's a lovely, lovely little $10,000 gesture on behalf of Rob to her.
Rob has looked at the price of Birkin bags and said, okay, Sonic, energy drinks, what else can I do to buy this woman a Birkin? And then buy another one for my girlfriend, because there's no way you give a different woman a Birkin.
Absolutely.
So that's 20K, oof, right out the door. And that's not even the good Birkin. No, it probably is. I know nothing about Birkins. I know Jane Birkin is the only Birkin I know. Yeah. Any more thoughts?
Hated Rapaport still. Everyone was giving Dorinda a lot of praise and
a lot of credit for doing nothing.
To me, Dorinda was there, right? Like she made it. I thought that was cute. Like I didn't see what they all saw, of course, but she was happy.
She was happy. And yeah, it was sort of charming. I made it to breakfast and I could have gone home then. And I was like, yep, you could have.
Yeah.
Really could have
made a difference.
Girl. Would have had no difference.
We didn't talk to Kristen at all in the reunion, right? I don't think she had more than 2 lines.
She had that bit about I'm a Bravo girly.
Yeah.
And that might be it.
That might be it. I loved Kristen on this show. And if they do an All Stars, bring her back because she was a great detective who went before her time.
I would love to see her as a traitor.
Yeah, me too. That would have been the best choice.
I think she'd dig her teeth into it. So a good season overall. Like the first third is Rapaport, the last third is coasting. But I still had fun. It's not like an A+ season, but it was enjoyable.
Look, any season of the Traitors is a win in my book. Love the format, even the celebrity format. But while it's never going to be my favorite, it is still super entertaining. And God, I don't know when I'm going to get sick of this. I can't imagine it's going to be anytime soon. I just started watching Survivor 50. So look, I can do things for a long time.
And the rumored cast lists for the second season of Celebrity Traitors UK are floating around out there with some really starry names in the mix. So I'm taking those with a pinch of salt right now. Like Alison Hammond, I can believe. Hugh Grant, I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. How do you feel about the non-celebrity US version? You mentioned it earlier. They're going back to, well, for the first time, they're doing an all plebeian cast.
I love non-celebrity UK. I love mixed celebrity Canada. I am worried. I am worried about non-celebrity US because the US have it all. Show me a stable American and I will show you a unicorn.
Like half those people are going to be Trump voters, number one.
Yeah.
And also the difference between a stable, semi-stable American and a toxic celebrity is exposure. That's the only difference in America. And so all of those people are going to be Candiace and Rapaport after the third day in the castle. So, boy.
Praying for the queers who will be on that show.
Yeah, yeah. Like if I forget the name of the studio, Verity Lambert's studio that is behind all of this, if they use the casting people that do the UK shows, I think they could get away with something good. If they do something that's closer to a Bravo show, I don't see that working. I think the reason they're moving back to non-celebs is because of the Bravo-ness of the celebrity version. and I hope they take that lesson, but I'm
Yeah.
not convinced they will.
I felt like we doubled down on Andy Cohen this year, so I'm nervous, Andrew. I'm nervous.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for watching our latest Traitors recap. We will be back with more Traitors coverage the next time there is a UK or US Traitors to enjoy. You can also watch our regular pop culture coverage of things like the movie Pillion or the TV show A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which we'll be releasing in a couple of days from this video's release. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend. Until next time, kiss, kiss.
Bang, bang.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.